Turn on you.
They love me really.
There's an English actor, Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Yes. Except he's not much younger than us, Idris.
Oh, yes, he is.
Not much.
Yes, he is.
What's 20 years between friends, Dorney?
Next question. Oh, we're friends now, huh? Next question.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I had a question for Michael. Nice and loud. So I was wondering if there's anything that was going to happen with Captain Worf.
You know, that is a, it wasn't Captain Worf. It wasn't, I mean, people call it that. But it was an idea that I had a couple of years ago, and I wrote a script, and it got some traction, as they say. But I think because of the J.J. Abrams universe that's going on at Paramount, it just stopped. It just stopped. So, no, I don't. But never say never. I mean, you never know what the future, and we're in space, for God's sake. So, it was sort of an idea that I had, and a guy blogged about it, and it sort of like got a lot of traction, and then it just stopped. It didn't have any traction after a while. But you know, you never say never. Next question.
Okay. I'm Corky. Before I get to my question, I just want to say that one of my favorite Star Trek moments was the Borg cliffhanger where they see Locutus and Riker tells Worf to fire. Could Jonathan Frakes just repeat that line again for us?
What do you say? Fire.
Fire! My question is, one of my favorite computer games...
Fire. You're not allowed to say fire in a crowded room. Fire at will.
Bill.
He didn't ask his question.
One of my favorite computer games was, I'm not sure if
I thought that was an answer. Wait a minute. We got to clear this thing up. Speak into the microphone.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm not sure if any of you might remember this. One of my favorite computer games was Star Trek The Next Generation of Violent Unity. I'm just wondering if any of you remember voice acting for computer games for Star Trek and what it was like.
What's it like acting? What's it like acting for computer games?
That's a question for you.
It's really boring. No, it is boring because you have to do the same line over and over and over 100 times. And the thing about computer games is you do the voices first, and then they go off and make the game. So when I did Mass Effect, somebody asked me about it at a convention, and I went, "What are you talking about?" Because, you know, girls, when you pass the menopause, your brain turns to mush. When you're standing in the room, going round in a circle, saying, "Why did I come in here?" You'll remember this conversation. You're not getting Alzheimer's, it's the menopause, okay? Just want to get that out there. And see, now I've forgotten what I was talking about, because I was talking about the menopause. What were we talking about? Oh, Mass Effect, right. So.
She might need medical attention, but I'm here.
Anyway. Talking about, and he said, "Well, you did a voice on Mass Effect," and I said, "No, I didn't." And he said, "Well, it says it's you," and I said, "Well, they're lying to sell more games." But it was me, and I had forgotten that I had done it. But it's because it is kind of tedious, because you do, you know, you hear that you go off in different directions. I have to be honest, apart from Tetris, I've never played a video game in my life. So, but it is kind of tedious to do.
Can I say
voice
something?
acting.
I want to tell you a story about Marina. This is very brief, but we were all in Kansas City recently doing a convention, and Marina was running across the street, and she fell and broke her finger because she wasn't wearing proper shoes. And she's learned her lesson. Look at those.
I'm not going to stop wearing high heels, I'm just going to stop running in them. And anyway, it's a pinky. Big deal, right? I just strapped it to the finger next door and went back to work. Because if you think I'm going to the emergency room on a Friday night in Kansas City when the basketball playoffs are happening, you got another thing coming.
But when she got to the hospital, they asked her how she broke her finger, and she didn't remember.
This was my life. When Patrick's not here, because when Patrick's here, we take the mickey out of him.
What do you mean Patrick's not here?
They take the mickey out of me.
Oh, I'm here, all
What
right.
Patrick's here?
Oh, please, no. Broadway.
Okay, now do Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen talks something like this. Patrick, yes, Ian. What are you doing? Talking like you.
Are you done? Should we go to another question? Next question.
My name is Ian, and I was wondering, what are the biggest...
Oh, Ian, that's nice to see you. You've been working on another voice. Without me.
And I was wondering, what are some of the biggest difficulties you came across working on Star Trek?
Well, you see
think
some
you're
of them
looking at
right
him.
here on stage.
Yes, the cast. Let's start. Jonathan, what was
no difficulties at all.
somehow...
I rolled into work. All my friends had been there for hours getting turtles put on their head, getting yellow paint put on their head, fighting over wigs. You were okay, you came in late. Old Baldy came in there late with me. LeVar had to have the thing put on his head.
Sir Old Baldy.
Sir Old Baldy. I got to say report, and then people would yap, 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 yap. I was done first at the end of the night. I got out of my spacesuit, I went over to Nicodell's. I waited for the rest of the cast to come out. They gave me a paycheck on Thursdays. It was the greatest job in the world. And I'm still doing it, I'm still here. There's nothing to complain about.
Well, we're not complaining, but you had those massive words to...
That's my point, I never did. I said report, and Fred had to say 2 fucking lines, 2 pages. He worked all night. I say report, he's got 2 pages of dialogue. Am I right?
And no respect.
No, we go to engineering and say to LeVar, report. He 2 more pages of dialogue he learned the night before. Then I'd say report, all hell would break loose. I'd say red alert.
But didn't you try to say report differently?
Occasionally I did.
And what came out?
Report.
Remember that one.
Or
Report.
I give you one more try.
Report.
That's fantastic. Michael, what difficulties did you have other than what we can presume getting 3 hours of makeup.
One word, Donnie. Glue.
You were the glue that held the cast together.
Well, I was
Glue.
No,
The actual glue.
I
Pink
presume
pigments
but-
removed from the skin.
No, that was.
How did they put that thing on?
It was the same process they used back 50 years before then on the original. It was the Westmores. And it was spirit gum, which is airplane glue, basically. Down the side, up here, down here, a nose, hairpiece, beard, teeth.
Nose. Did you say nose?
I said nose, teeth. And in fact, one of the producers came to...
Biceps.
Huh?
Biceps.
Biceps?
Biceps.
Oh, yeah.
No, what happened is that
Right?
the first makeup test, they didn't have me shave my head or anything like that, so I had a big afro, and the head was huge. And they said, God, his head looks so big for his body. So they said, well, we'll put some padding. And the padding looked ridiculous. It was like big like this, you know, and now his head's too small for his body. And they took out the padding, and I wore padding for a long time. But it was, but that wasn't the difficult part. The difficult part was the teeth. As my friends test, there's a great story. What's so funny?
Did you take the teeth out from time to time?
Oh, yes. Have you ever seen his teeth?
When he kissed me, I made him take the teeth out,
No,
yes.
I took it out when I didn't have anything to say, but I had to put it in, and it was really difficult. And the producer, one of the producers, David Livingston, came to the set one day and said, you know, Michael, the teeth up here are fine, the false teeth that they put in, but your bottom teeth, they look too straight. What are you talking about, you know? Well, we got to do something with your bottom teeth. And I go, wait, you're saying that the fans are writing in saying, we would believe that he was a Klingon, but his bottom teeth give him away, you know? And he goes, yeah. And it was, but that
How many hours would you spend per day?
It started out 3.5 hours a day. It started out.
That was to get in. What about to get out?
It was about 45 minutes. But it was 3.5 hours to get in until, I think probably the third season. That's when a great story, my friend Marina, it got so bad, they put this anybody here in the medical field, they put surgical adhesive on your nose. And they wouldn't dry it or anything like that. They just slosh it on there and stick it on your nose. And there's ether-based. It's ether-based. And it started to blister my nose. Burn my nose. Burn the side of my face. And I was going to the makeup guy. I said, look, there's got to be something you can do. No, there's nothing else we can do. No, this is it. No. And one day, I'm sitting in makeup, and the guy is getting ready to put it on again, and Marina goes, Donnie, look at your nose. Look at your nose. They're burning your nose. I went, yeah, they are, aren't they? And she goes, now you get out of that makeup right now, and you go up there to the producers, and you tell them you're not going to do this anymore. And I went, yeah.
Marina said I should come up here and show
I
you
didn't
my
say that. I
nose.
didn't. But I went up there and they changed it. Anyway, the story is they changed it, but it was pretty difficult. I mean, it was like that was going to be the end of it after a while, but it was difficult. The other thing is that for a few years now, my friends have been saying how not terrible, that's not the right word for it, how I was very bad with my lines on the show. And for years, I would be... And for years, I would go, guys, come on, no, I wasn't like that. Don't say that. You get the wrong impression. No. And then I saw the blooper reel. And they were right. I couldn't keep it together a lot of the time. So, thank you, and I'm sorry that I disputed you.
Should we take another question? Question? Yes, young man.
This question.
Nice and loudly.
This is a question for all of you. What did you miss the most after your series ended? What did you miss the most when your series ended?
Laughter?
What do you miss the most with the series?
The laughter. The laughter. It was laughter all the time. We weren't cut-ups. We weren't, playing practical jokes or anything like that. But we laughed every day, just about. I mean, it was just the most fun.
You said it, I didn't really miss anything at all. I was glad to get the heck out of there. And, now I'm stuck back with these guys again. No, I think we all felt the same way. It was the friendships that we all struck up, and it was always fun to go to work every day because you were going to play with your friends all day. I mean, what a great job. Can you imagine?
It wasn't like that on all the shows, mind you.
Oh, yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. I mean, no, for us it was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the other shows, the one that wasn't like that on your show, Bill, be honest. Let's just say, no one... Let's just say...
We almost got it! You teed him up, Marina!
Let's just say that there's not going to be a book written by any of us.
Some actors go to work, learn their lines, very seriously about it. How do I love you? Gotta work it out. Report. How many ways can I say report? They work at it. There's a little smile here and there, but not a great deal of laughter because it's serious work. You're churning out entertainment for a lot of people. That's the professional point of view.
We do things a little differently in America. American actors are a little different.
Oh, I know. So let's go to another question.
I've got leprosy.
Thank you so much. Long time listener, first time caller. The first thing I'd like to ask is, so many observations and things to see out in space. How on the earth did you guys deal with big data? But the second question I'd like to ask, you guys feel that as you want to. I'm just taking a lot of money off the question. The second thing I'd like to ask is, I think we'd all like to hear the off-color stories and all the things that happen kind of behind the scenes. But that's not my second question. My second question is, Marina, what are you doing after the panel?
That's your first good offer, Marina. Up to now, they've been false offers, but this one sounds genuine. I think there's a dinner there.
I'm going to be an LA girl. I'm going to be an LA girl now. Watch this. What car do you drive? What car you got?
Starts with an S.
Lie.
Starts with an S. Subaru. Is it a Subaru?
No, there's just two more numbers after that.
An SK something?
Close enough.
SL?
Close enough.
Okay. Is it Japanese?
It's not.
Good, because I don't do anything Japanese. Because I don't do Japanese. You have to boycott all things Japanese and Chinese. Honestly, I'm not joking now, because they still kill the whales and the dolphins. So, no Japanese, no Chinese stuff. They don't care about the planet.
I think we're going to start with the words PC.
Okay. I don't care about PC. I care about the dolphins and the whales.
But the question is, Marina, the question, no, hold on a second. Marina, the answer to the question we want to hear is, what are you doing after the show?
You know what? I'm hanging with my bros and sissies here, but thank you for the offer.
We're going out for Japanese food.
We're gonna have a little dolphin sushi.
Get some of that dolphin sushi. All right, next question.
As far as sushi goes, there's a few good sushi restaurants.
Are you requesting a date with Marina?
No.
Do you like Ultimate?
You know you're not. There goes that offer. I think I would take him up on
My question is one of my favorite Next Generation episodes was Genesis, where the entire crew was de-evolving.
Gates directed it. It's his episode. Gates directed that.
Oh, Gates. I just wanted to know how you guys felt about that episode. I mean, obviously Michael's always in makeup, so he had to wear extra makeup, which when I was a young lad, it scared me quite a bit.
When you were a young lad.
But Michael Dorn got to vomit on Dr. Crusher's face, so it kind of, yeah.
So what was your favorite part about that episode, if each one of you remembers?
Gates, you seem to have a...
She directed it.
Her show.
So.
Oh, it was her show.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of it?
Was watching Jonathan, who had been in makeup for maybe 24 hours as the ape, and I remember he was so nice. They were all so nice to me because it really was arduous makeup, and Michael Westmore should have been nominated for an Emmy for that. He was amazing.
I think he was.
And Jonathan had been there for hours, and they were all so nice, but you were like walking around the bridge like I thought he was going to like start, throwing things. But everybody was. Marina was in the water as the amphibian, and to me, what I loved was I got to make the ship so different than it normally was. Like it could be dirty. There was like stuff on the floor, and I got to look in the sick bay. That I had been in that sick bay so long, and we had never used like these jars that were blue, red, and stuff. And I went, I'm using those jars in a shot, So I was doing like weird things like that. So I loved it, but everyone was very indulgent.
I'm fascinated by the description of what was going on with Jonathan. What were you doing, Jonathan, in that show?
I had de-evolved. I had come back to my simian roots.
Well, were you thinking of how to say report? I mean, what were you doing?
I teed you up for that one, didn't I?
I was the only one who didn't change, and I really should have become an old laptop or something.
How did you change it?
I changed into something I don't recognize, but I didn't have to go through the makeup.
Well, you mean you came out as you?
He became a reptilian, sir.
Didn't that give away the whole...
No, I'm saying I didn't have to get into actual makeup to de-evolve. I just did a couple of scenes with her as Worf, and then somebody else, a stunt guy, did all the other stuff. Because he was running and jumping, and
he was all over the ship.
They just couldn't put me in makeup and then put me in another makeup at this, so I was lucky.
You were.
But I got to direct an iguana and Spot the cat. I was happy. They were so much easier to direct than some of these guys.
Denise, contribute.
Denise had gone by then.
Oh, you weren't in there?
I wasn't in that one.
What had happened, Denise?
She'd been gone.
Why? What happened?
I left.
Why? I mean, what happened?
Oh, I just wanted to.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Why not go there? What happened, Denise?
Oh, these guys have heard the story too long. I'll tell you later tonight, Bill.
Okay.
But she came back a couple of times.
Did she?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I came back, but I wasn't in
Okay.
this one.
We need another question.
My turn.
Your turn.
First of all, can we get a big hand for the Salt Lake Pops for their amazing?
Oh, yeah. How generous of you to think think of that, and none of us.
No, and Jerry Goldsmith is smiling.
Right.
That was beautiful work.
Well, I'm from Idaho, and we're just kinder than apparently actors.
It's all potatoes.
Anyone from Idaho before?
My dentist is from Idaho.
I'm Lila.
Lila.
Okay. And by the way, you guys look great. No plastic surgery. You're playing parts
You're full of compliments tonight. You're praising everybody.
Well, I was going to suggest...
Are you a happy person?
Yeah.
You're good.
I was going to actually suggest that they replicate some of that Fountain of Youth for you, but...
Wait a minute. Wow. I'm slightly older than they are.
Yeah, a lot.
So you've singled me out in your evening of generosity. No, it's all right. I can take it. I've had this before. One time. Please go ahead and ask your question. Please.
He's like, I'm never going to Idaho.
Is that your question? I would say don't go back. Stay here and have a good time.
No, my question is, you guys have gone to many of these events, and I was talking with a fellow Idahoan. No, she's not.
And did he pick you up? I mean, what happened?
And we were talking about the fact that this series is timeless. Like, I'm amazed you've got young and young at heart, the whole making sure
I think she
I'm
means you. We haven't got to your question yet.
He's dishing it back out. Okay, come on. So, do you guys have any theories on the, after talking with fans, on what it is about the series that appeals and is timeless? Here's the question.
Thank God. What is appealing about the next generation to the audience? What are your theories about that? Denise?
No, this is a question
Let Denise. Well, that's true, but we all have it. It was asked of us by the charming lady. Denise, have you got an idea of what appeals?
You know, I think science fiction in general, can be timeless. I mean, these are little morality fables that are, told over and over again to remind us of our humanity. And so I don't think they ever really tire. And, I think they need to be repeated, and they need to the next generation, hears them. And this is how we, how we contain ourselves, how we are human beings telling these tales.
Marina, you got a thought on
Well, I have to be honest, hands up in the air, not a big sci-fi fan. I'm not, Steel Magnolias, I love. So that just goes to show what horrible taste I have in films. I'm a Spurs fan. I'm going to strike you if you're an Arsenal. I'll be down there to rip your throat out any minute. But I think that the stories that we told, like Denise said, they were they had a moral. They're as relevant today as they were then, because we haven't fixed the world yet. We still have racism, we still have sexism, we still have anti-gay feeling, we have all those things that we still have war, we still have drug addicts, we have all the things that we talked about in Star Trek, and they're still relevant today. And now that we're in high def, looks like we shot it yesterday. So it's kind of, it's good, it's all good. But I think it's because we're still dealing with the same problems.
Jonathan?
All seriousness aside.
Right.
I think it's a bit of a cliche now, but I think it's Gene's vision of hope for the future that has resonated with all the fans.
I don't know. I think they're just darn good stories. And we had some good writers, and I think there's something about Star Trek. It just connects with people in the most powerful way. And I you know, as we all know, it's going to be in a year and a half or so, about 50 years it's been around. Wow, I think there are kids in this audience today, little kids who are going to grow up, and there's going to be Star Trek for them, and new shows are going to keep coming, and it just has become a part of the fabric of the country. And
The world.
Yeah.
Michael, interesting or not interesting enough? I don't know. No, it's not. Is it? Whatever I'm going to say is
exactly no.
Okay, well then that's it. I used to think it was, you know, just good television and all that type of stuff, but something clicked because we're doing these reunion shows and a lot of people that are coming out. It's what Denise said and what we kind of echoed is they're little morality plays. There's always, you know, from the original to us. Not so much after us, the shows were more, no, I'm just saying they got more into other things, into, you know, special effects. And
conflict.
A lot of conflict, you know, that's drama, it's conflict. But each one is a morality play. And I think that kids today, and that say we grew up on it, they can sit down and watch an episode and get something out of it. Whatever it is, you know, like some type of story, some type of more about, well, we do this, we do that. And I didn't really think about it until I was listening to all the kids and the older people that said, hey, you know what? I didn't watch it, but my mother sat me down and we watched this show.
Family time.
Family time, you know, and I think that's what it is. Like, it's just a morality play. But even
It's also one of the few shows that the whole family could watch together.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, but each person, each episode, everybody will get something from it. Whereas, like, a lot of the science fiction we see now is about special effects. It's about getting bigger and bigger, and the stories are kind of lost in the.
Can I say something? Oh, I'm sorry.
Please go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree with everything that all of you guys have said. I also think, as well, that space and the concept of something we don't really understand. I mean, there's so many mysteries in the universe. And for me, it takes my imagination to sort of imagine what would it be like to be on Mars, on Saturn. Oh my God, they have a new planet they've discovered. I think that's also something that, certainly for me and a lot of the fans, they are people who think about, oh, there might be alternate universes out there, and the way we are progressing already with technology, and there's SpaceX and all of these things, it's the possibility that also, I think, is one of the reasons.
You know, Bill, I'm sorry.
It's so popular.
One other thing. I really think, and seriously, that there's something about the future and these stories about the future, particularly living in a world where most of us are frightened whether there's even going to be a future. And we're frightened for our children that they're not going to have a future, that the world that we've known and loved is not going to be here, the planet we've known and loved is not going to be here. And I think the show says, yes, it is. It's going to be a long future, and it's going to be beautiful and great. And I think it's encouraging in that way to people.
There's a magic. There's a magic about science fiction because it seeks to explain the inexplicable. It seeks to offer something about what's out there, what the future is, what those little green men might be. It offers an imaginative look at the future. at an attempt at explaining what is at present.
Hi. Just to scare you there. I have to be the most unpopular person in the room right now because I have to. I know.
Can I just wait? Can I just? I have one very important question to ask everybody.
Yes.
I lost my glasses from going to this room. So if you see or step on black framed glasses that have progressive lenses, please give them back to me, okay?
I'll say it really quickly. It's going to continue on for a few more minutes, but we have to excuse Mr. Shatner. He has to catch a plane here. So we want to thank him for being here. We thanked him before he left.
I'm going to drive him to the airport. He's driving.
Yeah, you're not driving. You can't get out that easy.
Don't
we need you back here.
Thursday night dinners near you.
But we still have a few more minutes with you guys, okay?
Oh, so you're replacing Bill? Is that what's happening?
No, not me. No way.
No.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Yeah. No, I've been terrible. Yeah. But
well, I can say, do we have a question?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir. You, sir.
Where's Eleni? Eleni, boyse? Boyse?
There you go.
I'm going to speak to her in Greek now, so talk much yourself. What? That's horrible. That was horrible. Don't ever do that again. To your Greek. Okay. Because Eleni had a question, didn't you, Eleni? Yes.
Because I had your accent. We all hear about the nice moments and we live with the morals of the stories. But there must have been a line that annoyed you, really.
A line?
What was the worst line for you?
Captain, he's hiding something.
Really, Troy? Really? We can't tell that just by looking at him? That he's hiding something? And the last time I actually refused to say it, because the last time I ever said it, sit down, boys, sit down. The last time I ever said it, Sir Oldbaldy said to me, he must have got out of bed the wrong side that morning. We know that, you stupid cow. There's more. You waste of space. And then he looked at me, and he went and hid behind Brent. So I walked over to him and I said, excuse me, Your Majesty. I'm just an actress, okay? I don't write the lines, I just say the lines. And there's no point in you hiding behind Brent's spine, because he doesn't really have superhuman strength, you idiot. That was my least favourite line, yes.
I loved every line you said. Not that I knew what any of them meant.
Now, my least favorite was, I protest, I am not a married man.
Dates?
I can't remember what was my least favorite line, but I think one of the weirdest things I ever had to do was to fall in love with a lamp. He's gonna do it for everybody, just wait. There's a charge.
There.
Been treated like this. I see 4 lights.
Did you have something? Remember when we used to get rattled by like a ship shake?
Ship shake.
And you'd be sitting there, your hair would be perfect. I'd be over here where you are.